I realized as our group linked back to Dunny that we should not restore the city as we had planned. The once magnificent buildings lay in ruin, a testament to the hatred that had consumed them. Too many people had fallen victim to that hate, to the prejudice and greed from which it sprang. Gazing out across the cavern, I decided to write another age, one that would help the Dunny survivors begin again, free from the tragedies of their past. So with my wife, Catherine, supporting me, I put aside that past to write a future. More than a year has gone by since I finished writing Release. I have a new daughter, who I hope will someday link to that age with me. And as I imagine Yisha meeting the Dunny, those brave men and women who are building a new life for themselves, I realize I've been given another chance as well. A chance to learn from my mistakes and leave the past behind me once and for all.
Breathtaking, isn't it?
It most certainly is. Welcome everybody to Myst III Exile. This is going to be my main Let's Play for the month of January 2015, and I'm super excited for this game. Been wanting to play it for a while. I've been getting a lot of requests for Myst, and I hope, as such, you guys are excited for it as well. This is a game that I really enjoy. It came out about 14 years ago, and for the time, it was quite an achievement. For the graphics, for everything else, it was a great game. Still is a great game, I think, and I am really looking forward to playing it. So a couple of things before we get started. I thought I'd just go ahead and start the game at the beginning so that you guys wouldn't have to listen to me talk for 7 minutes like I did at the beginning of Riven. That being said, I do still plan to talk quite a bit during this video about some of the background info that you might need to know before diving into this game, because there's a little bit of stuff that, just for clarification's sake, needs to be said, and I'll be sprinkling those expository bits throughout the video, so don't worry about it being dumped on you all at once. A couple of housekeeping items. One of them is that the quality of the audio during dialogue parts where someone's talking to you, well, I guess it's more monologue since your character can't really talk, can be a little bit jerky at times, and I think that's my recording software. Sorry I can't really do much about that. I've tried various options, but thankfully it's not really that big of a deal since we don't really have a lot of people talking to us throughout the game, so that's not bad. But I do apologize for just the general nature of that. The other thing is I'm going to be foregoing my usual intro and outro statements like, hey everybody, what's up, and see you on the flip side, and things like that, mainly just because this is a Myst game, and I kind of want to respect the immersiveness of the Myst games, since that is something that the creators of the games set out to do, is to put you into a world and make you feel like you're really there. I mean, admittedly, just about every game tries to make you feel that, but, I mean, the Myst games really went above and beyond when it came to that, and I really want to help complement that, and as such, I want to make this LP a continuously, seamless watching experience if you watch each of the videos back to back to back and so forth. Ideally, when this is all said and done, you can watch the whole playlist and it will feel like there's no breaks, nothing in between the videos at all. So, I'm sorry for the abrupt ends and beginnings to the videos, but that's the reason why, and I hope it's not going to be too weird to watch, but it's something I'm experimenting with, so let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to see this in future LPs or whatever. Even if there is a positive response to it, I probably won't do it for every LP, but I figured it was just something I would try with this one. Anyway, let's take a look around here. This game is rather notable for being one of the first games of its era to feature this very 360-degree panoramic viewpoints system. Basically, we are standing inside a bubble, and we can't see our feet, which is kind of a bummer. But each of these screens that we're on is essentially a bubble, which is really cool. Who was that lady that was talking to us, by the way?
We call it Tamana. We moved here after Atrus finished writing Relation. He wanted us to have a new home too. I'm so glad to see you. I told Atrus our paths would cross again. He was just going to grab something for your trip to Relation, so he shouldn't be terribly long. Unless he decides to check over the whole house first, which means he could be hours resetting all his padlocks. But I know he was looking forward to introducing you to the Dunny, so he shouldn't be terribly long. Why don't you wait in his study?
Alright, in case you're wondering who in the world this lady is, and what the Dunny are and all this stuff, let me just fill you in on a few details here. This lady is named Catherine, and she's the wife of Atrus, the main non-player protagonist that we saw during the intro of the game. Atrus is partially Dunny. The Dunny are a race of people who lived underground in caves beneath the surface of the earth for thousands of years, I believe, until a great disaster befell them. I believe it was a plague, if memory serves correctly. Now, the Dunny were masters at the art of writing special books that allowed the people who used them to travel to the worlds described in the books. Fantastic places, an amazing concept that I thought was really cool for a video game. And this guy named Atrus is essentially a master of that art. Now, in the first couple of Myst games, we helped him out. So how did we end up here? The game doesn't really give us an explanation, but let me try to best put it in a way that makes sense. At the beginning of the first Myst, we were out in the middle of nowhere when a book, one of those special linking books, as they're called, fell from the sky to the ground in front of us. And we used it to travel to a place called Myst, where we got caught up in the adventure that the game comprised, and we met Atrus, and you know, he was imprisoned in the caverns of Dunny, though we didn't really know that Dunny was on Earth. Now, in Riven, we got to help him out with a situation on a world called Riven where his wife was being held hostage, and we were able to rescue her. And at the end of that game, we traveled down something called the Starfisher. It was basically a void-like vacuum thing that looked like space, except it was hospitable to life, and we were able to go down it. And the insinuation at the end of the game was that that was the very fissure, the very path that the Myst book took to fall to us down on Earth, and as such, we returned to Earth. Now, what the game doesn't tell us, and what we learn later in the series, is that the place where we land, where the Myst book landed, where we landed, is actually not far off from the entrance to the Dunny Cavern. And in the years intervening between Riven and now, Atrus has escaped the Dunny Cavern and established a new home here in the nearby desert in what is now present-day New Mexico. So it's not too unreasonable to assume that in that intervening time, we may have run into Atrus at some point. Maybe we were just exploring the area, wanting to see remnants of things that fell from Riven with us through the fissure, and we ran into Atrus in the middle of the deserts. And he invited us to his new pad here, which is pretty sweet, I gotta say. So, essentially, the backstory for the beginning of this game is, we're a friend of Atrus, and we're stopping by to say hi. That's the short of it.
I'm sorry, the other door.
Well, excuse me.
You know, this trip is exactly what Atrus needs right now. I haven't been able to get him out of the house for months, ever since he found his journals out of place. But seeing how well the Dunny have settled in on Relation should help him to finally relax.
There's an example of that bad sound that I was talking about, but so far this is the only example I can find of it, so I'm hoping there's no more. The sound that played when she was originally talking to us wasn't all choppy like that, so hopefully that was just a fluke. Let's check out Atrus' study. She mentioned that he was off grabbing stuff, so he's not here right now, but we can totally snoop through all his things, which is pretty neat. Now here's one of those linking books I mentioned. And this one, if you're familiar with Riven, you know that the symbol on the front of it is the Dunny number 5. And if you've played the game, then you know why this linking panel doesn't look all that healthy. It's because we destroyed Riven at the end of that game, so now it's just imploded age with nothing. And we can't use the panel either. Probably a good thing. I don't know why Atrus keeps it here, though. I mean, we learned in Riven that the world was really unstable, so maybe he keeps it here as a reminder of what not to write or something. Also, one thing that's interesting to mention is that the strategy guide for this game calls this a descriptive book, but actually a descriptive book is meant to be like the original of a book, and it would be a lot thicker, and we've actually saw it at the beginning of Riven, so yeah, this is just a linking book, just because it's so small in size. The best way to put it is that a descriptive book is like the original copy. It's like an original file on your computer, and linking books are shortcuts to it, or copies of it that aren't like the real thing, but they get you there. Maybe that's a terrible explanation, but it's the best one I could think of on the spot. Let's look at Atrus' area here. We've got some special papers and inks, and if I'm not mistaken, these are the very substances that are used to craft linking books. There's a very specific kind of paper and a very specific kind of ink and stuff that you have to use to make the books work. There's this rose protractor thingy. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. And here's a picture of Catherine and their new baby Yisha, who's going to be a much more significant character in later installments in this series. And yes, for those of you who are fans of Riven, Catherine is indeed played by a different actress here. Which is kind of sad, because I did like the actress that they got for her in Riven. Oh, here's a letter that Atrus wrote. Tamon, thank you for responding so quickly to my request for Nara padlocks. As you know, security in Tamana has become an important issue of late. Perhaps I am overreacting, as Catherine suggests, but the idea that someone may have been sneaking into my study, reading all my journals, disturbs me. After what happened to my library on Myst, after my own son, Cirrus Akanar, destroyed so many of my books, I've come to realize how delicate the link is to my worlds. I've never been able to repair those burned books, to link to each age and find if the inhabitants survived. The padlocks won't change that situation, but they should ease my fear of trespassers considerably. Sincerely, Atrus. Now, we did hear Catherine mention that Atrus has been worried ever since he found his journals out of place, so looks like this ties into that. Also, Nara, for those who don't know, is a very strong kind of stone. And apparently they make padlocks out of it, which is pretty nifty. From what I hear, it's stronger than even steel, so that's saying quite a bit. Now, these two guys here are Cirrus and Akanar, the sons that Atrus mentioned in the letter. They were the two villains from the original Myst, and we had to deal with them. But thankfully, now they're trapped in prison ages, and they're not going anywhere, so that's really reassuring. I don't think there's anything else to look at here. We can't really touch any of these books here, and we can't access what's behind that glass, so let's take a look over here on this side of the room. We got some tapestries here, and they seem to tell a story, so let's try to go in order. Now, I don't really know quite all the details here, but I'll try to do the best I can to describe what's going on here. Essentially, what we're seeing here talks or tells the story of what happened between Riven and now, and what Atrus has been up to all this time. So after Riven, Atrus went back to the cavern in Dunny, in the island called Kavir. That's where he was imprisoned at the end of Myst, and he was able to break through one of the walls and gain access to the rest of the Dunny cavern. Now, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, there was a big plague that took out the Dunny, but there were some survivors of the plague, and we can see them down here, and Atrus is up here addressing them on top of this thing that kind of reminds me of one of those staircases in the Mines of Moria from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. So he's talking with them and stuff, and I guess here he's just giving them some plans or some ideas of what to do next, and they're erecting some tents and stuff. Looking over books, probably trying to decide what to do next. I think they had tried to go to one of their original ages and it didn't work out or something. And the story continues over here, basically. Yeah, here we go. They went to another age and they found like a bunch of dead people and toxic fumes and things. And the suit that you're seeing here is one of the suits that the Dunny use when they go to an age that could be dangerous, just to make sure if it's, you know, actually habitable and stuff. But eventually, they decided not to go to an old age or re-inhabit the Dunny Cavern, where their civilization was destroyed, but instead Atrus, as he mentioned in the opening monologue, wrote a new age called Relation. And here we can see this kind of Pilgrim Mayflower thing going on here, where they're settling in their new home, which is really cool. So that's what's been going on, and apparently Atrus wants to take us to Relation. And speaking of which, here's the book for Relation. It's protected inside this really cool, nifty glass bubble, so that's pretty awesome.
Well, my friend, I see you found the Relation book.
Atrus is here.
Catherine tells me you've been here for some time. Sorry if I've kept you waiting. Since we'll be gone a few days, I needed to secure some of my things. And I also wanted to bring you this. It's a journal I kept while I was writing Relation. I thought you might find it interesting to read about what I'd hoped to achieve, compared to what the age truly is.
Okay.
Well, just let me get my keys to unlock Relation and we'll be off. Oh, and I'm interested in hearing what you've been up to in recent months.
Whoa! Oh boy.
No! No! Relation!
We have no choice but to follow this intruder, so let's go. On second thought though, where are we going? I mean, do we even have a way back? Maybe we should have thought this through first. Well, there's no time to think right now. We need to catch that thief. Let's follow him. Alright, we got you now. There he is. Of course. We cannot get inside, can we? Looks like he's just pacing around. Does he want us to go in there and follow him? I mean, he's not running anywhere. He's just walking around. Well, one thing is for sure. We need to find out why that guy is after Relation and what he plans to do with it. But just how are we going to do that? We can't get in through there. Well, it doesn't seem like he's going anywhere, so let's go and explore this place.